bringing up Hunter's interest in wrestlers, it's interesting because that's another one of those changes is the use of terminology as wrestling and wrestler seems to be back into the fold at WWE where it was taboo for so many years to use the terminology.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No,
well, I was going to say, like, look, people always made fun of Vince banning words. Like, for me, and this is straight from my heart and straight from my brain. He taught me a ton of words. He extended my vocabulary. Because of this, he would not let you say certain things, and so you had to find other ways to say it. And I think he thought there was a negative connotation, if that's a word. Yep. I may have just made that up. Against wrestling and the wrestling world and wrestlers. So he created World Wrestling Entertainment and has WWE superstars. You know what I mean? And so there's nothing wrong with that. I think if it's your company, you can definitely call your people whatever you want. And I think he thought it brought it up to a classier level. And I don't disagree with him. I think it did exactly that. The John Cenas of the world, the Rocks of the world. These guys have been accepted outside of the wrestling business because WWE is kind of bigger than wrestling. It's not really it will go back to being a wrestling company now, and we'll see how that fares financially, whether it's prosperous or not. Only time will tell that. But that's up to the viewer. Do I want to see a big, huge guy that's marketable? Like, do I want to be with that guy if I'm a woman? Do I want to be that dude if I'm a man? And if not, I don't know how marketable that guy is. So I totally get where Vince is on the talent and on the banning of words. You know what I mean? Like, look, now you can say wrestler. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, I get it. Several times, believe you me, I thought, how frivolous is this? And I can't say this stinking word in his presence. You know what I mean? Like, but in all actuality, looking back, I learned a ton of words. I learned what abeyance meant.
In abeyance.
Yeah. The title was held in abeyance because he wasn't going to say held up. You know what I mean? And sometimes I actually think he loved doing that because everybody would learn a new word. You know what I mean? Like, he was the guy that always said, "You're taking notes, right, Dogg? What did I just say?" You know what I mean? And like, he was very
Vince McMahon educating the world.
Yes, and I'm being dead serious with that too. I'm not definitely the world of wrestling fans, and also the room he was sitting in. He taught us all a ton. And so, but he always had his yellow legal pad and his pencils, and he would write down everything. And he believes in that. And so he believes you should do that too. And truth be told, when I do that, I remember things 100 times better than I do. And that was the reason he gave. Like, you got to write that down, Dog. So he had many Vinceisms that were looked at sideways, that are a little funny to the outside world, but that I totally understood, and learning them helped me as a human being and a person. You know what I mean? That's crazy to say, but that's the truth about Vince. He's a wise man, a smart man.
You brought up the term marketable, and will wrestlers moving forward be as marketable? I mean, that was one of the genius things about Vince McMahon. It's always said Vince McMahon is a creative genius, but it was his marketability and marketing skills that took regional wrestling to a national and then international level with the marketing of WrestleMania, with all that. And I got to say, from my perspective, when it came to wrestler versus WWE superstar, and this was a debate I was having with my wife this week as we were prepping for this episode, I've actually always been a fan of the term of using WWE superstar. I will absolutely argue on the fact to say that WWE isn't wrestling is a little bit preposterous. That is what they do in the ring. It's a wrestling match. But I absolutely, and used to explain this to all of the newcomers coming into the Performance Center at orientation, like, it wasn't that he thought of wrestlers as a bad word. He thought of you, the WWE superstar coming in, as something even better. Because in his mindset, anyone can go enroll in a couple of classes at a wrestling school and then call themselves a professional wrestler, but only the best of the best, only the elite of the elite, only the top tier talent have the ability to carry the badge and honor that is of being a WWE superstar. And I just thought that brought a lot of pride into what was being done. And if you understood it from that perspective, that it was to put you on a pedestal and not to put down the art form, but actually elevate it, to me, it did make sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me too. And look, that I think people that want to say wrestler, like, oh, okay, but hadn't you rather be a WWE superstar? And if you hadn't, then I don't know. I guess you're doing all right. Just keep doing your hip tosses and arm drags.
So this is going to be a topic that's going to be interesting to me, and we can't really say what's going to happen. It's purely speculation, and we'll see over time.
All of this is, right?
But philosophy of ownership of identity. Obviously, Vince was big on owning names and likeness and the trademarks and all of that. So when wrestlers came in with established names, he's always been throughout the career big to change those names. Where we saw in NXT through the indie influx and infiltration that Triple H was a lot more likely to work out a deal with the talent and let them keep that name that brought them to the dance in the first place. I'm curious if we're going to see that come back into the mix, or if it's going to continue into the old ways of ownership.
Look, I think there'll be a meeting in between, if you know what I mean. There'll be a meeting in the middle, and so I think what you'll see is maybe people coming in. Are there any people out there that are coming in anymore? That's a different question. But I think people be coming in will sign over their name or change it. And look, I think it's important for the WWE to own the intellectual properties. And if you think about it, they're not, you're not going to make a T-shirt, print the copies, store them, distribute them. They're going to do everything for you, and then give you some money. And if you're over, it's going to be a lot of money. You know what I mean? So,
but let's break some of that down. You got a girl in NXT, Casey Catanzaro, just became NXT Women's Tag Team Champion.
Yep.
Only recently changed her name to the Katana Chance, I believe. But this is someone that's name had name value, was an American Ninja Warrior star on a platform that did draw millions of viewers on their weekly program. She was a celebrity of the brand. So sometimes when some of these outside names do come in, it is a wonder of why you don't capitalize on that.
Yeah, why you don't keep it? And look, the question begs then to me, and this is the one that I never understood, Curtis Axel. Like I never understood Curtis Axel, and I get that you want him to stand on his own and maybe be a star without, but everybody knew who his dad was.
Right.
Everybody who was in the know knew who his dad was. Why not utilize that? This is Mr. Perfect's kid. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's a huge selling point. I just don't know why it wasn't to everybody else. But I totally get your point. I just think from a big business standpoint, they're gonna want to own a lot of the intellectual properties, and then they're gonna push it for you. That machine's gonna get behind you and push it for you, hopefully. But yeah, you're right. Like I think we'll see a blend of a little meeting in the middle there. So we'll see. Yeah, that's what happened on this episode here.
Yeah, this week's. Yep.
Yeah, very cool, because I always love that where you just hear like what I would like to do, and I did it one time, but what I wanted to do in SmackDown was use the Usos because they could do that. Dude, they could do that spit rapping like battle rap stuff, and
then the way that they both went tandem
they
and
go
finished
back
each
and
other's
forth, and they feel each other and finish each other, like it's so timing beautiful, that I wanted them to, especially when we weren't really using them that much. I wanted to just follow them walking down like a fence line and saying, yo, tonight on SmackDown, dog, it's going to be, you know what I mean? And just come up with a rap about the show, and it could be 1:30, it could be 2 minutes, but it's just them being cool AF and telling you about the show to come. I also pitched them being in the crowd, and we come to them them in the crowd, and they do the same thing. And I just thought they're so cool, and if we can utilize that, it will be a cool open to the show. And Vince was like, God, nobody wants to see that. I was like, no, I do, and I'm somebody.